Hey guys, so I was watching Goosebumps on Netflix last night, and if you're an adult, I would strongly recommend going back and watching them. If you're like my age, go back and watch them. I mean, they're still great. But I'm sitting there, watching these episodes, and I'm pointing out all the inconsistencies, and I'm pointing out the plot holes, and I'm like, okay, I need to stop and just enjoy the show. Um, but I was watching The Haunted Mask. I watched Haunted Mask 1 and 2. The first and there's okay, so don't get me wrong, they're enjoyable. It's still great going back and watching them. They're very nostalgic. Um, but some of the lines and concepts are kind of stupid. So I'm gonna assume you know what I'm talking about with The Haunted Mask. I mean, if you're a kid or you're a person my age and you grew up watching, you know what The Haunted Mask is. But basically, for people who don't know, it's a mask that when you put it on, you like each time you put it on, it becomes more and more of you. So basically, it like becomes your face, even though your face is still in there. It becomes your face. The more you put it on, it's like three times, and you can't take it off. Um, to get it off, you need like a symbol of love and all that bull crap. So Carly Beth is the first in the first one, and she gets the mask, and throughout the episodes they're asking her, oh, there's just one question that keeps coming up: how are you doing that voice? Because obviously you put the mask on, and the first time around, you're still in control for the most part, so maybe it's just a voice she chose. But well, the more you do it, the more you put the mask on, it becomes not you. And your voice will start to change and all that. But for her voice was like, I mean, it's kind of hard because it's a girl and she's like 13 years old or something, so it's hard to get with the basically uh so her normal voice, and then so here's your normal voice, and all she did was like like a gruntilda, and she would talk like this, and people were like, how are you doing that voice? And I'm like, what? As a voice actor, I am offended. Um, so they are like, "How are you doing that voice? That voice was creepy." And then in the second movie, one of the bullies named Steve gets his hands on one of the masks, and it's an old man. Like it looks like an old man, and it's funny because they've got like little plastic spiders in it. But same thing. He puts it on. He chooses to do a voice, but then that voice suddenly becomes his real voice when he has the mask on, and it's not a hard voice. It's just a kid's interpretation of what old people sound like. He's like, "Come here, young fellow." I mean, and his friend's like, "How are you doing that voice?" And I'm like, "What?" Now, for Steve, I could understand maybe because when he talked, it sounded like there was like an echo to his voice, so I can maybe understand if that's what he was. But Carly Beth had no such thing. It was just her voice, but doing this. There's nothing, no filters, no. It was just her, and yet they're like, "How are you doing that with your voice?" And I'm thinking, this must be the most boring town. They must not have cartoons. If they saw cartoons, they would flip the hell out. They would be like, "How are those people doing that?" Um, like I said, as a voice actor, I'm personally offended. I mean, it's not hard to change your voice. Hell, I do it on a constant basis. It's daily. I'm constantly doing voices. I mean, I do videos. I do Pokemon. And suddenly I change my voice to sound like Professor Oak. Hello there. Welcome to the world of Pokemon. And there's times when I change my voice to sound not like a cartoon, but someone in real life. And even though the voice itself doesn't sound like who I'm trying to be, the person in question does have a very specific way of talking. Sometimes they go really high, sometimes they go low. So as a voice actor, the fact that they keep asking these people, "How are you doing that voice?" just blows my mind. It blows my mind. Um, um, then I watched, what was it? What did I watch first? I watched Haunted Mask. Also, also, um, Goosebumps. I love those shows, especially back in the day. But watching them as an adult, Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark were just basically scary stories for kids. But some of them, a lot of them, you go back and they all have a happy ending and blah blah blah. Some of them left on a, not like more like a cliffhanger. Like at the end of the Haunted Mask 2, you think that they've gotten rid of the masks because they throw their masks into the fire in the fireplace and they see them kind of melt. But then the haunted mask kind of reforms itself. But then Steve's dog takes it and buries it outside, which means, oh god, it's coming back, which it does. There's like the next one called like the Scream of the Haunted Mask, and then there's like one after that. Um, so it does continue, but it's like, okay, they're just gonna defeat it again. But then there's other ones with deeper and darker implications. Um, the episode, God, what is it? Hang on, I will find it, and I don't want to play the episode clip because I'm afraid that this is freaking YouTube, so they're gonna be like a copyright. Hang on. All right, so we have Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns. So it's Halloween based again. Um, so these two kids right here are actually aliens. We don't know that until the very end, but they show back up and they agree to help our buddies here scare the bullies because you know bullies coming out and scaring them and all that crap. As you can see, they're dressed up like werewolves or some bullshit. Like, so they want to get revenge, and that looks like a little Mr. GG right there. Yo, Mr. GG, where you at? Um, so they want revenge, so they plan this whole thing, and throughout the episode, they're talking about um, adults who have gone missing, and this and that. Some weird fantasy, like some creepy old dude. Um, but yeah, throughout they're like, oh yeah, the 4 adults have gone missing, and blah blah blah. So then later on in the episode, um, you get these guys who show up, Pumpkinheads, and the girl kind of suspects them of being her friends, because she knows they're aliens and they have the power to shapeshift and all that, but she's not too sure because they're being jerks to her too. Of course, they kind of have to, you got to keep up the illusion because if they start singling out one person, being nice to that person, you're gonna know something's up. So, they go ahead and bring them to this neighborhood, which looks fucking dope, by the way. I mean, that is so fucking cool. I mean, I wish places around here did that. I mean, look how fucking elaborate that shit is. That is so cool. Um, so they go around collecting candy, and the whole point is just try to scare them. Don't hurt them, just scare them. So they bring them to this place, and they're like, "Oh, more houses." It's like, "More bags are full." Takes the bag and dumps out all the candy, and throws it back. Is like, "More houses." You know, you will trick or treat forever. Um, so they eventually get scared, especially with the pumpkin head coming off type thing. So they take off their heads to show that they are in fact real people. Um, we get the transformation back into the kids, and at the very end, they show what they really look like. They're these weird sock puppet things. So the girl says, "Oh hey, do you guys want some candy for the road?" And they say, "No, we just had a four-course meal," meaning for adults. Which, like I said, for a kid show, that's pretty dark implications right there. So they either devoured them whole somehow, or these four adults were murdered, skinned, chopped into pieces, and cooked, and then devoured, which is pretty dark for a kids show. So most of them end on a happy note. This one, it ends on a happy note with the whole, bullies getting their comeuppance and getting scared and all that. But then the side story of the missing people gets resolved in the form of them saying, "Yeah, we ate them." Now, when you're a kid, you probably don't think too much of it, but when you're an adult, you're like, Jesus, fuck, that's dark. Um, what's another good one? Um, Ghost Beach. Yeah. Here's another one. It's not for the fact of the a dark ending. It's more of the fact that the actual ending, comes out of nowhere, and there's no hints at all throughout the episode. So, Ghost Beach. So the two kids are going to visit their, I think, distant cousins or something like that. It's like this old couple. Uh, they're obviously up there in age, but they're exploring this little cemetery and seeing all the gravestones and clean them off. And these two kids pop up who claim to be, have the same last name, saying that they're, oh yeah, we're Sadlers too, and blah blah blah. So they're going back. They talk. They scared him at first, of course, because you can't meet someone without, just a regular way. You gotta be scared first. So they're sitting here talking at dinner, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, we met these kids, and they said their last name is Sadler too." And they're like, must be distant relatives some kind. Um, and saying how about ghosts and this and that, and you can see the skeleton of a dog saying that, "Oh yeah, when ghosts know, or dogs know that when ghosts are around, and then ghosts will eat dogs for some reason, to not be exposed." And that's really all we get for the dog thing. And then at the very end, so okay, so they look at the cave and they're told about this light that you can see in the cave. So he looks up the cave, he sees the light, um, and then here you can kind of tell something is actually happening, but you don't understand what. Well, I mean, you can kind of understand, but it doesn't really. You wouldn't think it implicates these guys, the old couple. But he's basically saying, "Oh yeah, you ever heard of Aurora Borealis? And it's whole sky lights up in streamers." And it's like, okay, clearly you can tell the difference between a light coming from a cave and the freaking Aurora Borealis. Uh, Aurora Borealis at this time of day, at this time of year. No, so he's trying to kind of convince them that they didn't see it, and then they get irritated, like, "There's no ghost, you hear?" Um, so they decide to sneak out. They go into the cave and find out that we have this guy in here. I think it was named Harrison Sadler, thinking that he's the ghost because they also found the gravestone with the same name. He's like, "No, I was just named after him." He's like, "I'm not a ghost. I'm just named after him. He's an ancestor." Um, and he's trying to tell him to, to watch out for the kids because they're the ghosts. Um, so they show back up and say, "Oh yeah, that ghost is pretty clever, trying to trick you into think that we're the ghosts." Um, saying that the ghosts came out of the cave and prepared graves for them and blah blah blah. So they go back to the cave, and the dog, who belongs to Sadler, the guy living in the cave, comes out and forces the kids back, and then it's revealed that they're the ghosts. Just like the guy said, it's like, yeah, don't listen to them. They're the ghosts. That's why I hide in here, because the cave is like some kind of sanctuary. And he's like, yeah, they can't come in here. And if they do come in here, they're pretty much trapped. So I stay in here because I'm safe. Um, so the dog shows back up over at the elderly couple's house. And for some whatever reason, they decide to say, oh yeah, this couple who we've been seeing this entire episode are also dead. And then she puts on her apron and oh, maybe he's like bad dog, and she's like maybe he's not a bad dog, maybe he's a very good dog. And then he says, why don't you go help her in the kitchen? And I don't want to hear either of you say you're not hungry. But there's no indication at all that these people were dead. They said that their parents came out, the kids' parents came out there to visit them. But surely someone must have heard that they died. Normally when family members die, especially ones you tend to visit all the time, so where were the implications that they were dead? It's just one of those things that just come out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, great twist, but it makes no fucking sense. Now, when they're talking throughout the episode, you can tell that they clearly know something, but it's like, okay, yeah, clearly they know that the kids are the ghosts, because they, you know, kids mention, oh yeah, we ran into some other Sadlers and the kids, and as soon as they mention, it's like they're they're good kids, um, but never implications that these two are dead. Um, so let's see, Haunted Mask, Night in Terror Tower. Let's see, Haunted Mask, Dead House, Night of Living. Also, let's see, what season was it? Was it 3? Click. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Wouldn't you know that Click is also the name of the Adam Sandler movie? In which case, the same thing happens. Seth loves to channel surf, but when he orders the sleek, futuristic looking remote control, he soon finds that clicking isn't so much fun anymore. So it does pretty much exactly what it does in the Adam Sandler movie. Now, this I think it was actually a story before that. I think it was like a Twilight Zone story at first. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I remember it being a story before this, like some futuristic remote that kind of controls everything. You're looking for a universal remote control. That remote controls your universe. Um, but it's the same things. You got the controller in here. Rewind, lower, change the audio settings. So if you're in class and you just want to change the settings to Spanish, you can go ahead and change the settings to Spanish, change the aspect ratio, um, all that great stuff. Just with Click as well. Only this one, whereas the movie has Christopher Walken as like Morty, who is like an angel of death. This one is just like some uh like company, and it it's weird, but this kid eventually tries to use the remote, and he gets trapped in like this dimension because the battery's low and he can't get out. Um, so I think it's hilarious that it's the blob that ate everyone. But yeah, oh yeah, an old story that like prune cookies. They eat them and they get older and older, and suddenly the two freaking old women are hitting on them. It's just kind of weird. Uh, Werewolf skin, barking ghost, strained peas, bride of the living dummy. Sound familiar? Kind of like Chucky. Um, season 3. specials. I don't think I've watched much of season 4. I don't know. I don't like it that much. I mean, The Cry of the Cat I watched, but that was pretty much it. Season 2. The Headless Ghost, Bad Hair Day. Yeah, so like The Headless Ghost, um, yeah. Like I said, just go watch it. Really, Get Invisible, Attacking the Mutant. Attacking the Mutant's great because you have Adam West in it. It was the Leaping Gazelle, Monster Blood. The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight is basically the same as isn't I think it's the same title as the one in Are You Afraid of the Dark? And it's basically the same concept. Some dude finds a magical spell, or there's a magical spell to let the scarecrows come alive, and suddenly they start wreaking havoc. Whereas like the one in Are You Afraid of the Dark is like this bone or something that has like twin dragons on it, and but in here it's like a book or something, and throughout the episode there's like this guy who's like basically holding the family hostage with these scarecrows um get what he wants. It's like, oh yeah, I made some apple pie. I like cherry. It's like, oh, okay, I'll go get cherry pie then. Um, but it's the same concept. Scarecrow walks at midnight. You know, Scarecrow. You look outside, there it is. You look back, oh, it's gone. Whoa! All these crazy antics that are going to ensue. Um, Calling all creeps. That one's actually pretty funny. Because at the very end, he's like, well, if you can't, just join them. So he turns himself into one of these creeps, these monsters, um, or Vampire Breath. Vampire Breath is a good one, especially with the twist at the end. So the entire time these kids are Renfield. I just noticed that. Turns out the Renfield, you guys get the reference. Um, but yeah, so the guy is a vampire, and he's trying to find his vampire breath, which allows him to restore his powers. He's still kind of powerful, but without his breath, which allows him to grow his teeth back out and stuff like that, he's not nearly as powerful. So these kids are being chased around underground by this guy. There's a girl who helps them along the way, and they finally get out and they find their parents and they're like, oh god, we're being chased by a vampire. And suddenly the guy comes out and they're like, grandpa or dad? And it's like, what? It's like, yeah, that's your grandfather. He's like, you guys are vampires too. So the whole time they're being chased around by their grandpa. He didn't know that those were his grandkids. They didn't know he was their grandfather. But it's a nice big happy ending. They grow their fangs out because, it's their birthday, and like their sick, certain birthday, get your fangs and all that. They go to their caskets that their parents had gotten for them. And it's a happy, wholesome ending. It's like, oh my god, grandpa. Like, dad, I haven't seen you in a while. What were you doing down there? Did she get lost? It's like, no, I lost my fangs. It's like, oh. Um, but yeah, Goosebumps, such a great show. Like I said, go back and watch it. They're so stupid, like some of them, but they're still enjoyable to watch. But yeah. How are you doing that voice?
I don't know. I'm just doing it. You must go buy eggs for Bart.
Um, but yeah, what's your favorite Goosebumps episode if you have one? If you're like me and you're old, what's your favorite episode? What's your favorite season? Um, did you collect the books? If so, how many of the books did you have? Uh, did you collect the newer ones when they came out, the ones with like the holographic covers, or were you just like, yeah, I have all of these, and these are just That's all I need. Start collecting the newer ones, like the pick your ending ones. Did you have those? Let me know below. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.